Let's get back to the International Women's Day, a day devoted to the celebration of women, their achievements as well as drawbacks against women in areas of work, home, and the society. In the field of economy, business, and finance, African women are making big strides as statistics revealed, but a lot more still needs to be done. Joining me for a deep dive conversation on gender economics, business, and entrepreneurship in Africa is Dr. Bunmi Bajama. She is the head group banking and the chief operating officer, corporate and investment bank at the EcoBank Transnational Incorporated, headquartered in Lomé, Togo. Tonight, Dr. Bajama joins me here at our headquarters studios in Lagos. Thanks for coming, madam.
Thank you.
Great to have you. Thank you very much. Let's get it started. This is an International Women's Day. So what does facts and data reveal when we talk about gender economics of women in Africa?
Okay, thank you very much. So let me refer you to a study done by Woodham in 2020, where they actually postulated that the expected, the differential between in the expected lifetime income between male and female is about 172 trillion. That is twice the GDP of the whole world. Why is this important? It is important because if you look at the gender economics, as you've said, number one, for Africa, women constitute close to 50% of Africa's population. For that significant amount of, number of people comprising of notable women, it is also important to know that at least 1 in 4 women own businesses or manage businesses. But despite this predominant presence of women, we see that there is significant finance gap. The finance gap, as estimated for 2020, was about $42 billion. Of this $42 billion, about 35% is in agri, which is a sector largely dominated by women. But this is surprising, considering that over 90% of businesses in Africa actually are SMEs. Of these SMEs, women constitute 1/3 of ownership in terms of presence in the SME space. So if women constitute 1/3 of presence, and then it's also known that at least women are so generous that they spend over 90% of their income, annual income, on their family and their community. So for this segment of population that is so important to the growth of the economy, it means that for the Pan-African banking dream to be attained, the presence of women must be strengthened in order to have peace, prosperity, and growth. Yeah,
those are the economics. But when you talk about women contributing to the growth of entrepreneurship on the continent, what do the numbers reveal?
Okay, so in terms of entrepreneurship growth, I will look at it in terms of the number of women. I will look at sectorial participation, and I will also look at national participation. So in terms of numbers, over a 27-year period between 1990 and 2007, you have, how do I put it now? You have the number of women growing from 5% to over 38% in terms of number of women-owned businesses. Then in terms of sectorial participation, you see significant growth in women participation, not just in the retail segment, but across sectors. And with construction leading the way with over 94% presence of women. Next to construction, you have transportation. It is instructive that while women dominate wholesale trade by over 70%, in retail marketing, they actually constitute less than 30%. This is significant. But in terms of national participation across small, medium, and even large enterprises, women are fared significantly well by nation. You have the Middle East and North Africa accounting for over 50% of women participation in medium and large enterprises, followed by Europe. And then Africa comes on strong after Latin America. Latin America accounts for about 33%. Africa actually accounted for 29%, far ahead of South Asia. And that mirrors what we've said in terms of the significant presence of women in the entrepreneurship space.
Well, when you talk about women's contribution in business in Africa, many countries are looking to resolve what you call the unemployment challenge. So, should we consult you women to resolve our unemployment numbers? South Africa is looking at about 33%. I'm sure we're running almost the same percentage of unemployment levels in Nigeria as well.
Yes, I mean, you cannot ignore women if they constitute 50% of the population and they account for over 25% of businesses in Africa. And if you look at it, in terms of the growth, the participation of women in the employment space, 4 countries have actually led the way in terms of women's ability to generate employment. You have Rwanda, you have Cape Verde, and you have Ghana also coming strong in terms of women participation. But in terms of employment generation, given the presence of women across the tech and across all notable economies, you see women coming on strong in terms of employability of the population and employability of the workforce. And that is because of significant training and everything that they've achieved.
Technology is the new crude oil, yes. And when everybody's latching onto it, where are we women in this field of technology? Are they pulling their weight across Africa? What are the facts on the ground?
Okay, so technology is the new oil, like you've said, but in the technology space, you have significant participation of Nigerian women. Women actually account for about 30% of professional women participation in the technological space. In terms of founders and co-founders, women account for over 12% in terms of the number of women founders and co-founders. But in terms of the number of CEOs that are actually in charge of businesses, women account for 6%. But despite all of those positive achievements, if you look at the number of women that have benefited from venture capital financing, total wallet of venture capital financing in 2018 was about $726 million. Of that, women only took 2%, which explained why you have the financing gap of about 42 billion that we've actually mentioned. So what will change this? You've seen the good thing is that you have about 5 banks partnering with the government in order to leapfrog technological innovation and women participation in Nigeria.
So your bankers are putting your money on women?
Yes, and I'm happy to let you know that at least the Pan-African Bank that I belong to actually is one of those 5 banks.
One of the 5 banks. Just yes, we have about a minute to before we take a break and continue. Give me the big names in our women in business in Africa for me.
Okay, quickly. So for women in business, there are so many of them. We actually call them Mama Benzis in West Africa, given that these are determined women who have achieved, who have conquered, and have actually merited the right to enjoy the spoils of their sweat.
Give me some names.
So I am across Africa. 5 people will stand out for me without prejudice to all of the other ones. Number 1 will be Mama Benzi Salma in Morocco. She's referred to as the leading lady in the supply of luxury items. You have Madam Tabitha in Kenya, who also is a major player in the brewery sector. She's actually the president of the largest indigenous brewery, accounting for over 20% of total beer demand in Kenya as far back as 2018. Also for Nigeria, without prejudice to Nigeria, you have Madam Kofo Akikugbe of the Secure ID fame. She is a leading lady in telecom security and smart card supply in Nigeria. You have Funke Okpeke in network connectivity and fiber optics. And you also have Madam Mo Abudu in media. In South Africa, you have Madam Sambo, who is a leading lady in aviation. She's the first woman to own a private airline in South Africa. And because of her presence in aviation, she has actually led to additional 3 ladies having private flying licenses in Africa. Those are some of the outstanding ones for me.
I'm sure you have quite a whole lot of this. We'll continue this conversation with you after the break.
Thank you.
Stand by, everyone. We'll be right back into it. You're welcome back to the show. Dr. Mumiba Jamal, the Chief Operating Officer in charge of Corporate and Investment Bank at EcoBank International, is holding her first TV interview since her new appointment at EcoBank in Lomé, Togo. Here on Arise News tonight, it's the International Women's Day, and we're continuing the conversation. Thank you, Lester. We're just talking about some of the women, big names on the African continent before we took that break. But let's go to there are a whole lot of constraints. We'll talk about gender bias and what have you, and I don't want us to just go what we call the run of the mill. Give me your list of the chief constraints against women in economics, business, entrepreneurship, and finance.
Thank you. So from a financial perspective, I'll group them into 8 indicators or constraints, as you've said. The basic
narrow it down for me.
Okay, so the basic one will be mobility, motherhood, entrepreneurship constraints. Then we have the 3 Ps, which is parenthood, pay, and pensions. And in terms of the importance of this, it's one thing, like you said, that we do the run of the mill, but I think the basic thing to focus on is what are the legislation affecting women's mobility, ability to move from one place to the other? What are the legislation that are in place to support women in terms of pay? What happens if an elsewhere active woman, a woman of means, suddenly falls ill? What is the protection? What is the law guarding her wealth and ensuring she has a better outcome in the end of her life? I think those are some of the things we should mention. I mean, the government has tried, but I think we can still do a lot more. In terms of constraint, in the workplace constraint, or in terms of asset distribution, what is the ease of a woman actually renting a space to forming a businesses? There are so many biases, like you've said. Does she really need the guarantee of men in order to get the workspace, or can she stand on her own? I think the National Assembly and all of the regulators across different sectors and across regions and country will do well to look into some of these issues, because these are some of the limiting factors to women that prevent them from owning assets, or prevent the effectiveness in managing assets, or even relocating from one region to the other without facing biases. Also, in terms of employability, what are the protection around women employability, not only in their comfort zone or in their region, but when they move outside of their comfort zone into other geography? What law protects them as natives of Nigeria when they move abroad? Do we just throw them out and they're up in the open, or what sort of controls are in place? I think those are some of the legislation we will need. Also, if you look at it, even in the financial space, sometimes there are policy announcements being made. How many women are present at the tables? How many women do you see? The CBN has done a lot in terms of infrastructure and supporting women by their MSME fund, the 222 billion MSME fund. But who is in charge of this fund? How many women are actually at the table adjudicating in terms of who gets what and what? I think these are some of the things that, despite all of the good intention, that needs to be looked at so that the laws that have been made for women can actually benefit women.
There are quite a lot that could happen in the field of economics, business, and finance for women, and you can go on and on again with a whole lot of issues around title deeds and what have you. You talked about real estate, but again, what would women need to become economic game changers on the African continent? I will talk about the constraints. What really needs to happen? What needs to change? We've mentioned some of them, but let's just try to signpost them.
Okay, so thank you. I will group them into like 4 buckets. One will be access to finance. So if the legislations are in place and the support for women to getting finance, I've told you five banks came together, but the mechanism for accessing those financing needs to be enumerated and be clear so that women are not shy of approaching financial institutions. And then in terms of other needs, the second one will be networking needs. Women are not given to transactional banking or transitory banking. Women like to develop relationship with their financial providers and build confidence before they let go and actually begin to enjoy the relationship. So the support has to be there in terms of that. And therefore, women to make decisions. Women don't make decisions on the spur of the moment. They need access to financial information or information that helps their decision making. What is the ease of access to information? I know there is a freedom of information bill, but there are still restrictions on this. And then in terms of the personal development of women, you need upskilling. Upskilling in terms of, besides getting the essential degrees, which are actually first order condition, you also need to upskill, reorientate the women and equip them for managing businesses and taking leadership role. So any institution that is able to bring these needs together would then be the winner as far as women is concerned.
But again, from everything you've said, one of the traditional ways in which you're trying to do financial inclusion and all of that is the traditional banking sector. So try to reduce the size of our informal economy, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa, and bring them into the formal economy, where women will have access to credit, they will have access to a whole lot of financial support and all of that. So what's going on in this field? This is your field, by the way. At EcoBank, what are you doing to support women in Africa across the various jurisdictions? Okay,
so two things principally. So there is the financial support and non-financial support. Financial support is the effectiveness at providing credit facility in a way that the collateral is easy to comply with and in a way that is easily repayable in terms of non-prohibitive interest rate structure. Then you have the non-financial in terms of technological development for the women, training, mentoring, and getting women ready for after, because women are the bedrock of after. After is supposed to benefit women, but if they are not adequately equipped, then all of those gains will filter away. But in terms of EcoBank, what we have done is to develop products, and we call it Elevate. Elevate from the French word elle, which means she, and then lifting women on. Elevate. Elevate is based on 4 principles. Entrepreneurship, which means that at least the product is for businesses that has minimum 50% women ownership. In terms of leadership, at least up to 20% of women must be in leadership position or must be on the board. In terms of employability, they must employ at least 30% women, and then the businesses must be such that they produce for the benefit of women. Where this has been done, then we as EcoBank, we bring on board our presence is 33 geographies, 33 markets. Our desire to provide on an annual basis minimum $150 million for women-owned businesses, to onboard at least 500 women onto our developmental platform. We nurture the women, we take them through our Entrepreneurship Leadership Academy, and they come out smoking. And what we've said is that it's not just dropping 150 million. We also hope to upscale the business, that the business generates enough cash flow that can bring at least twice the amount we intend to deploy into the network. So that is another benefit that the women get. Also, from then on, we hope to nurture the women. So it's not a transactional thing that ends one day. It's a continuum. So we review periodically our engagement with the women. And also, we on an annual basis, we're looking for minimum 20,000 businesses that we would then upscale, nurture, growth, and elevate.
I'm beginning to think that maybe you're going to have you folks, you were thinking about a new license for a bank that specializes on women, and you could just have an all-women bank, by the way. That's going to be a game changer. Maybe someone's going to do it someday. But thanks for coming. Dr. Mummy Bajama, the CEO of Corporate and Investment Bank executive at EcoBank Transnational Incorporated in Lumetogo. Thank you, and we wish you all the best, the rest of your team on this International Women's